Hello, welcome to this video. In today's lesson I will be talking to you about verb functions review. We are going to make a brief review of verb functions. Alright, we know on previous videos that we have talked about action verbs, auxiliary verbs, and connecting verbs. We know that action verbs can be transitive and intransitive. We know that intransitive action verbs do not need an object to receive the action. They are a whole action on their own. And transitive verbs need an object to receive the action. Auxiliary verbs are verbs that do not make sense on their own, and they need to connect to another whole or main principal verb to create a verb phrase. And connecting verbs connect the subject to its complement. Alright? So we have 4 examples of sentences using all of these verbs, and I am going to point out which kind of verbs or what kind of verbs are used in each of these sentences. The first one says, she was coming to the meeting. First we must see, is it an action verb? Coming could be, but no, it is not. Is it a connecting verb? Was coming. She was. Okay, it is connecting she with coming to coming, but this is not a complement of she, so it is not a connecting verb. So it is an auxiliary verb, was, that is connecting or hanging on this verb, coming, to create a verb phrase. So this right here on top is a sentence that is using an auxiliary verb. Aux V. That stands for auxiliary verb. The next one says, he is intelligent enough to notice. He is intelligent enough to notice. Do you see a verb phrase that tells you that we are using an auxiliary verb? No. We have is here. So it could be a connecting verb. Why? Because it is connecting the subject to the description, which is an adjective complement, intelligent. So this here is working as a connecting verb. I'm just going to put CV, connecting verb. All right? The next one says, Dave called him to confirm the meeting. Do we have a verb phrase? No. Do we have a linking verb that is connecting to a complement and the subject? No. We have called him. We have called, which is an action verb in past tense, and we have him, which is an object pronoun. So to make sense, we need the object to receive the action. So in this case, we are using a transitive action verb. We are just going to put T-A-V, transitive action verb. And the next one says, she ran in the park. This is the simplest sentence you can see. She ran, we know that this is an action verb, and there is no object receiving the action. This alone is a whole action. So this is an intransitive action verb. So as you can see, it is very, very simple to identify each kind of verb. Remember that the hardest part here is to tell transitive from intransitive verbs, but we know that intransitive verbs do not need an object to receive the action. and transitive verbs need an object to receive the action. Alright? The rest is a piece of cake. You link the subject to the complement, and you know that it is a connecting verb. If you are creating a verb phrase, we know that we are using an auxiliary verb. So it is very, very, very simple. Next, I will give you more practice examples so that you can get a more ample idea about this subject. Now, for practice, you are going to help me identify the verbs and help me figure out whether they are action, auxiliary, or connecting verbs. The first sentence here says, Jane is going to Boston next week. Where is the verb here? We have one here. Jane is, a form of the verb be. And right next to it, we have going. So we know that this makes a verb phrase. So which verb do you think we need to join another verb to make a verb phrase? That is right, an auxiliary verb. The next one says, they are good people. They are good people. Where is the verb? The only verb I see here is are, which is another form of the verb be, but it is not necessarily a linking verb or an auxiliary verb. It could be either. So next to it, we have an adjective that renames or describes our subject. So this means that, oh my God, it must be a connecting verb, right? Because it is connecting the subject's description to the subject. It is a subject complement, an adjective actually, an adjective complement of the subject. So this is a connecting verb. The next one says, he kissed her goodbye. I see a verb here in past tense, and it is an action verb. And right next to it, we have an object pronoun, receiving the action done by the subject. He kissed her goodbye. So this needs an object to receive the action. Therefore, it is transitive or intransitive. It is a transitive action verb. So we are going to put T-A-V, transitive action verb. And the last one says, Glenn sings in that bar. Very, very simplified question. As you can see here, this is the only verb we have here. And afterwards, we have a preposition and a prepositional phrase in that bar. So it does not need an object to receive the subject. It sings itself is a whole action. It doesn't need anything else. So it is an intransitive action verb. All right, there is another tip to identify intransitive action verbs. That is when the rest of the sentence or the phrase that follows it is a prepositional phrase in that bar. He went to that place. If it is followed by a preposition, then you know that there is no object receiving the action. So therefore, you know that it is an intransitive action verb. All right, next, I will give you some homework because remember that you need to practice. For homework, you are going to write 4 sentences using connecting, auxiliary, and transitive and intransitive action verbs. Remember to do it in the comment section below this video, along with any comment, suggestion, or question that you may have. Remember, the name is Faby Fitzgerald. I love to help you in your English studies, and I will see you in my next video. Would you like to watch my next video? Click on the television to the right. To you about verb voices, but specifically aiming for the active voice.